Move the machine to an area to where you can access it from the side of the crate where the tower is located. Once you do that, you'll need a 13mm wrench and socket. I use an impact, but you could also use a ratchet or two 13mm wrenches. You're going to unscrew the screw that supports the strap for the top of the tower, and then there's also 12 more that secure the top to the crate. All 13 of the screws removed. You can either approach the crate from the side here with the forklift and insert your forks above the tower and below the crate top, lift it off, or you can use two people, one on each side to lift the top of the crate off. But if you're going to lift it off by hand, then you're going to have to remove there's a 2x4 that supports the center. That way you're not lifting the top as high. Now that the top's removed, we can cut all the steel banding, securing the machine. And we want to take the carriage, small crate on the tower. The carriage is in, we want to take that off. Set that off to the side. Next, you can remove this. There's a top plate on the top of the tower. We'll need some Allen keys for that, Allen wrenches. And there's 4 screws that secure that. Just remove the cover and set it to the side. You can also take a pair of needle nose pliers. There's a small plug on the motor breather cap. You want to pull that out. And then there is a cotter pin that holds the large pin to the base. And this is what's going to secure your tower to your base. It's like a hinge. Alright, now that you have that done, you're also going to want to remove the motor cover that's on the bottom of the tower. There's just a door latch, and then there's a spring-loaded pin that holds the motor or the door to the tower. Set that off to the side, and then you'll find a box inside. It has your should have a toolkit in there and some other little odds and ends. Power cable is going to be laying in there. I like to tuck it in underneath or behind the other cables that are in here. That way it's out of the way when I go ahead and set it on the tower and lift it up so it doesn't get caught on the motor. So to lift the tower, I use 3 eye bolts. I'm going to remove the pin from the breather cap, pair of needle nose pliers, and then use your pliers to straighten the cotter pin that holds the this larger pin in place. I'll pull that out. And this is what's used to hold the tower to the base. Next we'll go ahead and remove these 4 screws. These secure the base or the tower to the base once you stand it up. And then I like to go ahead and make sure the motor mount bolts are tight. Just takes a couple minutes, but it's a good safety measure. The box that comes in the tower has a toolkit, so you'll have a set of Allen wrenches in there and a couple other wrenches that you'll need to do your installation. Okay, once that's done, I remove the door. This is the motor door from the bottom of the panel. Just push on the lock, it'll pop open, and then there's a spring-loaded latch here. You push it down, and then you can slide the door up and out of the way. Set that to the side. Take your power cord, and I like to tuck it behind the cables here. That way it's out of the way and doesn't get caught up on anything. Now to lift the tower, what I do, I use 1 1/2-inch eye bolt and 2 3/8 eye bolts with nuts and washers. And I'll attach the 1/2-inch one through the hole that the supporting strap was on. This is what I found to be the best way to install it, especially when you're by yourself. Let's tighten that with 3/4 inch. And then the 2 3/8 eye bolts kind of go from the top down. Tighten those with a 9/16 wrench. And then I attach my slings to them. I have a 1-inch sling, 2 couplings that I attach to the 3/8 eye bolts. Then I attach my larger sling, my 1/2-inch eye bolt into the center of the wire. Now at this point we'll take our forklift, stick our fork through the center, raise it up a little bit to get the weight off of the crate, and then we'll undo. There's 2 screws and nuts on the back side here. We'll undo those. So that'll be the next step. We went ahead and insert our forks a little bit off center, closest towards the bottom side of the tower. That way when we lift the tower, it's going to be pivoted kind of to where the top portion is pointed up in the air. We went ahead and raised our forks so that all the weight is off the bolts, the mounting bolts. And now we're going to go ahead and remove the 2 mounting bolts and nuts again with our 13mm socket and wrench. And now our tower is no longer mounted to the crate. Now we're going to go ahead and this takes a couple passes. You'll have to move your forklift back and forth. But what you want to do is, if you can get a pan maybe on this side here, you're going to line this tube right here that your pin slides through. You're going to line that up with these 2 tabs that come up on the base. And then once they're lined up, then you can slide your pin through. We went ahead and lined our tower up with our base, and then we slid our pin through, and then make sure you put your cotter pin back in and bend the ends over. That way the tower doesn't separate from the base when you go to stand it up. Once you have that done, we went ahead and removed our slings. We no longer need those. And now we're going to go ahead and put our top cover back on the top of the tower while we have it down on the ground. So there's just 4 screws putting that back on. Snug those up. And now we're ready to stand up our tower. We just want to make sure that everything's got to be clear. On this side, we went ahead and tucked our power cable up so that doesn't get in the way. You want to make sure that this connector right here is pointed toward the center. You don't want it out like here, or else it's going to get pinched when you go to stand up the tower. So push that to the center, make sure this cable is out of the way, and everything is clear from around here so nothing gets pinched. You can use 1, 2 people, however many you think. You can also hook a sling up to the top if you'd prefer to use a forklift. I normally just stand it up myself. And then just walk it forward. And then once we have it up, you might need to twist it around a little bit just to line up your holes that your bolts are going to go back through. Put our 4 bolts in and we'll tighten them up. Alright, so we went ahead and tightened down our 4 mounting bolts that mount the tower to the base. Make sure those are good and tight. Now we're going to untuck our power cable that we have put in here. You have a set of keys here that lock the motor door and the control panel door, so make sure you cut those off, put those somewhere handy that you won't lose them. Just cut this off. Going to leave the keys on there for now for ourselves. Now there's 2 cables in here. They have 2 quick connects. I go ahead and cut the top cable tie It's just holding them in place temporarily. You have two connectors here. They only go in one way. You have a large connector and a small connector. The large connector goes to the turntable motor right here, and they're all slotted, so they only go in one way. Just line it up, push it in there, and then tighten up the lock nut. Tuck that in the side, and your other connector goes to your turntable limit switch that's underneath the turntable. So again, line that up, push it in, and tighten up the lock nut. Tuck that in out of the way. You don't want to run your cables over here where the chains are that move up and down. Just slide everything off to the side over here out of the way. And now you can put your motor door back in. Just line up the little nipple here with the hole, and then you're just going to push down on your other pin here, slide it up in the hole, close your door. Next, we're going to go ahead and mount our carriage. We already took the packaging off. It came in a little wooden crate that we had taken off in the beginning of the video. I'm going to carry this over here and then remove the 4 screws that are in it. These are the mounting screws that are going to mount it to the lifting bracket here. Now, when the machine is shipped, the cable is tucked inside, out of the way. What you're going to do is you're going to pull it out, and then you're going to run it through this center channel off to the right. And then you're going to lift the carriage up, and you're going to slide. These tabs are going to hook on the back side of these bars and in between here. So let's go ahead and set that in there. And then you run your screws in from the outside into the back of your carriage. Sometimes you may have to turn the carriage a little bit to get everything to line up correctly. Okay, we went ahead and snugged down the bolts that secure the carriage to the lift. What I normally do is make sure that the side of the carriage is even on the top and the bottom bolts. What you can do is just tighten or loosen the screws to make sure that it's even and the carriage is straight. Once you're done with that, take your quick connect for your cable here to the carriage, and it fits in the same way as the other quick connects. It only goes in one way. So find how it goes in, line it up, push it in, and then tighten the lock nut. And then the last thing to do before removing it from the crate, we'll go ahead and lay the power cord on top of the machine. And then there's 2 screws that go into the side of the table. I'm going to go ahead and take those out. One thing I do as part of installation is I check and make sure that my turntable limit switch, which is the switch that tells you the machine, the home position, as well as counts how many times the turntable goes around. That's this switch right here. I make sure that that's lined up with this metal loop that's on the center sprocket. So what you can do is you can turn the turntable by hand, and you can watch it make contact with that wheel, and you can hear that clicking noise. You don't want it down so far as to where it's rubbing the table, or up so far to where it's rubbing the table, or down so far to where it's missing this, or maybe it's pushed in. So you want to make sure that this is adjusted correctly. If it's not adjusted correctly, the machine won't run in automatic mode, or it won't. The carriage won't go up during the automatic cycle.